Colour of Country Life and Miley Cyrus with Dua Lipa and the song Prisoner. And Rikki Lambert is with me, and maybe the topic Prisoner is something that we should have a look at this time of Easter. Hi Rikki, how are you going?
Oh, I'm very good, thanks Wayne.
Excellent, and we take a look today with Easter. Quite often we go around the world and we see some of the footage of things that happen at Easter and the persecution of Christians in different places. In Australia maybe we don't have that level of persecution, albeit that some of the Christian folk that are in this country have come here because of persecution, and some may even feel like they are in a minority now. But the countries that they've fled from, the war-torn places like the Middle East, tell us a little bit about your way of remembering these people at Easter.
Yeah, I was thinking about this after we saw an attempted terror attack on Palm Sunday in South Sulawesi in Indonesia, where apparently a husband and wife group tried to carry out a suicide bombing. They wounded 20 people, and it's quite telling now that you need to, in some churches in parts of the world, to have security guards outside the church building before people can even come inside, and those are the people who intercepted this attempted bombing. That's the reality that we don't have in Australia, but many people around the world to observe their Christian faith have to put up with, is to have now security guards to prevent the kind of massacres we've seen for some time, and they're not often seen on a television screens, but it is happening a lot. And there are persecutions of people of religious minorities and other minorities all over the world, but I thought just in a lead up to Easter, it's worth highlighting that the most persecuted group in the world are Christian believers.
Christian believers in the Middle East. We saw this with ISIS, but not just Christians, with the Yazidi people and the Kurdish people too, those minorities, and the devastation that happened in Iraq and in Syria through ISIS. Then we go to, say, Sri Lanka, where we've got a protest that's been held where protesters have been wearing black because of the lack of action in what they believe has been a terrible circumstance, the hundreds that were killed in churches previously in Sri Lanka. What are we seeing here in this particular situation? Is it that people feel like the governments of their countries still are not recognising that they are being persecuted?
Well, if you go a little further north of Sri Lanka to India, and you look at the situation there, where particularly in the northern parts of India, some terrible persecution happens, not just of Christians, in some cases Muslims, in some parts of that part of the world. And the government, Mr. Modi's got a really difficult challenge on his hand, because the more militant Hindu people who are in the ascendancy in that country will be very upset if he takes strong action to protect minorities. So that's where countries like Australia do well to speak up about human rights, for instance in China, because governments sometimes need to be pressured from abroad to actually deal with these incidents of violence and murder against people just because of their religious beliefs.
And there is that terrible situation in Nigeria where the little girls are being taken off into the northern part and over the borders into the Sahara regions, and we've never heard or seen many of those girls haven't been found. So there is the persecution and the slave trade, if you like, of women, and we see that even in Southeast Asia, and different groups that are working to overcome that horrific situation.
Yeah, you would think with the focus, for instance, on women at the moment in Australian politics, that we would be focusing on this terrible persecution of people because of their beliefs, but also targeting women and taking them away to become part of someone's harem, potentially. And this is the risk that we have, is if we get caught gazing into our own navels of Australian politics, we don't look at some terrible things that are happening abroad, where we can actually apply pressure as an Australian government and get some of these problems addressed.
Certainly is one that on Easter we hear about attacks on churches. Our hope and our prayer today, Rikki, is that there isn't any violent action as worshippers attend Good Friday services and Sunday services this weekend over Easter. It's good to get your contribution on this, what's sometimes a sensitive topic, but a real one that hopefully the Australian government and our Foreign Affairs Department can continue to apply pressure to ensure the safety of Christian minorities and other minority groups too across some of these affected areas.